What's up everybody, I'm Adam and you're watching the Model Aviator channel. E-Flite has no less than 3 Vipers in their Viper jet line, and it has a lot of people wondering why 3, what are the differences in the 3, and how do you know which one's right for you? In today's buyer's guide, we're going to help you figure that out. In case we get some viewers that aren't aware, foam sport jets like these Vipers are typically powered by EDFs, or electric ducted fans. They are classed or categorized, if you will, based on the size of the fan unit. In the E-Flite Viper line, they make a 64mm, a 70mm, and a 90mm. All 3 share many of the same features, but there are a few things that are exclusive to each individual size. When it comes to shared features, the E-Flite Viper line is well thought out. They're very convenient and easy to deal with on a day-to-day basis. For those of us that like to store our jets leaning against a wall, sitting on their nose, they all have hard plastic nose cones, so you can do just that. All of them have ball links on the control surfaces. This makes adjusting those control surfaces and centering much easier and gives you more positive control response. That's key with anything fast. When it comes to the landing gear, they all have CNC machined aluminum oleo struts with trailing link suspension. That makes operating off of rougher runways possible with any of the 3. And when it comes to aligning your tracking on your Viper, they all have easy access to a quick connect that makes adjusting the nose wheel very simple. They're all convenient top loaders. They have a spring-loaded pin lock and battery bays that are quite large enough to easily fit even the largest batteries recommended. The Viper 64 is the latest in the E-Flite Viper line, introduced in 2024. It has a wingspan of 42.2 inches. It's 36.7 inches long. Our example weighs 2 pounds, 4.5 ounces, ready to fly clean with a 4S 2200, and it's intended for 4S 2200 to 3200 packs. The assembly is very modern and only takes a few minutes. The Viper 64 is sold as a bind and fly for $269.99 and a plug and play for $249.99. This is the bind and fly version, and in this configuration, this is the most full-featured, most capable 64mm sport jet on the market today. It has an Avian ESC, and it has a Spectrum AR631 Plus receiver. This gives you the full bank of smart telemetry that you normally get with a bind and fly. You have the option of Safe Select, which gives you self-leveling and an automatic launch assist when you're going to hand launch this airplane. You have Spectrum's latest stabilization system, AS3X Plus, which you have to fly to believe. It makes this little jet fly much bigger than it is. It also incorporates a smart transmitter file. Now, if you have an eligible transmitter, that would be the IX14 and 20 and any NX transmitter. When you bind the airplane, you can take advantage of that smart transmitter file. You can forego it and just set the transmitter up yourself. If you choose to use it, it will upload an automatic pre-programmed setup into your transmitter, all your rates, all your voice prompts. Everything is done. The only thing left for you to do is activate Safe Select if you're going to use it and set up your timer. In the 64mm single-engine EDF class, there's still a lot of airplanes that are made bank and yank with just elevator and aileron. That's not the case with the Viper 64. You have full 3-axis control. Elevator, rudder with a steerable nose wheel, ailerons. You even have flaps to help you with the slow-speed performance. And having full control is going to open up an array of aerobatic capabilities that you wouldn't have if you didn't have all that. It has a full set of LED lights, and when speaking of this awesome trailing link suspension, if you want to turn this airplane into a hand launcher, it will take you about 30 seconds. There are no tools required to remove the gear. They just snap off. There's a single thumb screw for the nose wheel, and once you get the gear off, the ventral fins come off. They're magnetic, and there's a ready-made grip for hand launching. That, combined with the safe launch assist, means that you don't have to have a John Elway level arm to get this thing in the air safely. The Viper 64 is the most economical choice of the 3, not only to buy but to feed. It uses common 4-cell 2200 and 3200 packs that most of us already have on hand, and if you don't have those, getting a handful of them will be a lot less than trying to buy a bunch of 6-cell packs. When it comes to omitting the retracts, that's by design on an airplane this size and in this class. It keeps it very light. Vipers have a lot of wing area, and omitting the retracts using lightweight packs means that this airplane has very good slow flight characteristics aided by the flaps and very docile stall characteristics. If you turn it down, it's an excellent option as a first ever EDF for somebody wanting to get into jets. Not a lot of bells and whistles, not a lot of money, it's not going to intimidate you, and it has all the features you need to aid you in learning to fly a jet. Also, because it's small and lightweight, it's an excellent park or schoolyard flyer. So for any place other than a sanctioned flying field, this is by far the best and safest choice of the three. And when it comes to experienced pilots, this is a great add it to your loadout and take to the field just about any time you go kind of sport jet. It's going to have all the performance that an experienced jet pilot wants, and it's a nice addition to whatever you're already taking to the field. And frankly, the performance that E-Flite's been able to extract out of this on 4-cell is pretty spectacular. So how fast is it? Well, lucky for you, we took our Dynamite GPS unit and tested that. All our speed runs were straight line with no dive in. We got 90 miles an hour with the gear on and 97 miles an hour with the gear off. And that is, by the way, the fastest 4-cell powered 64mm EDF we have ever tested. And it has the best vertical we've ever seen out of a 4-cell 64 as well. So we are very impressed with this little jet. Coming up next is our full setup on the Viper 64, so you can duplicate that on yours if you'd like to. After that, we've got some flight footage for you, a full flight with the gear off mixed in with a little bit of footage with the gear on. Check that out, and then we'll move on to the Viper 70. We had a bit of wind when we flew the Vipers, and the 64 handled it just fine. All the Vipers fly inverted very well, and it takes very little down elevator to maintain it. Knife edges are one of my favorite maneuvers to do with a sport jet. The large vertical and winglets on a Viper make them especially good at it. flaps help the 64 slow down very well, and it's even stable slow in some wind. You just have to remember to stow the flaps away and land it clean since you're bellying it in to avoid damaging the flaps of the flap servos. Here we're going to do some touch and goes with the gear on, and it handles the crosswind nicely. The slow flank characteristics are good enough. I'm able to keep these patterns low and tight with no problem. Here I'm going to jink to the right and put it in the grass. Watch that trailing link suspension do its job. The Viper 64 is as aerobatic with the gear on as it is with it off. We'll link our full review of this airplane in the description if you'd like to check that out. For now, check out how quickly we can get this thing down and stopped with the thrust reverse. The Viper 70 was the first in E-Flite's Viper line, originally introduced in 2018 and then later updated in 2023. It has a wingspan of 43.3 inches. It's 40.4 inches long. Our example weighs 4 pounds even with a 6S 3200 ready to fly. It's intended for 6L 3200 to 4000 packs, and while the assembly is very quick, it does lack the quick electronic connections that the 64 and 90 have, so there is a little bit of fiddling with wires. The Viper 70 is sold as a bind and fly for $349.99. It has an Avian ESC and a Spectrum AR631 receiver, so you'll have the full array of smart telemetry at the bind and fly level. You'll also have optional Safe Select and the OG AS3X stabilization. Keep in mind that AR631 can be easily upgraded to a 631 Plus, which would give you the latest AS3X Plus stabilization, and that upgrade doesn't cost anything extra to the end user if you choose to do that. At this size of 70mm sport jet, this is where you're getting into the more of a full house sport jet. You'll have elevator, rudder with a steerable nose wheel, ailerons, flaps, and retractable gear. Now, a lot of people wonder in 2023, when they upgraded this airplane to better, more modern electronics, why they didn't add LEDs. And there are a lot of misconceptions about that. A lot of people think it's a matter of $10 or $15 worth of LEDs, stick them on there and away you go. And that's not really how E-Flite rolls. When they do LEDs, they do it to where it looks like they meant to do it. You have to account for the channels for the wiring. You have to account for the cutouts for the lenses themselves to make it look clean and neat. You can't modify a 2018 mold once it's been used to do stuff like that. That requires redesigning and then tooling a brand new mold, and that is the most expensive part of bringing a foam airplane to market. That would have put the price point of this airplane well above what they're comfortable trying to sell a 70mm sport jet for. So that's why they elected not to do the LEDs when they upgraded this airplane. And to tell you the truth, like most of you, I love LEDs. But the fact is, after I flew this jet and saw how it performed, I didn't miss them so much. When you move up to a 70mm 6L powered sport jet like the Viper 70, you get an airplane that has a lot more power and more wing area, which makes carrying a heavy option like retracts much easier and renders an airplane that still slows down well and has a docile stall characteristic. That's the challenge with adding the weight of retracts to smaller jets. they don't have the wing area to cope with the extra weight, and that adversely affects their slow flight. The other thing that you move up into is a higher price range, obviously, and $349.99 sounds like a lot for a 70mm sport jet until you really do the math and think about a couple of key things. With the Spectrum system, you already have a very good stabilization system with the ability to upgrade it to an even better one at no charge. You have Safe Select, you have the smart telemetry. With a competing plug and play, you're going to have to buy some sort of a receiver. And you're going to need more than the 6 channels that this one has, because the Spectrum system has virtual channels that other airplanes are not going to be able to take advantage of. So the thrust reverse and flipping between AS3X and Safe Select, you don't need extra ports with this airplane and the Spectrum system. You get a competing plug and play, you're going to have an extra port in your receiver to put that signal wire for thrust reverse, and then you're going to need an extra port for whatever gyro system you're using to flip between the modes in that. So now you need 8 channels. When you think about that, $349.99 ain't bad. Another advantage to the Viper 70 is it utilizes smaller 3200 to 4000 milliamp 6-cell packs, and while those are a good bit more expensive than the 4-cell packs you'd need for the Viper 64, they're a good bit less than the larger 6-cell 5000, 6000, and 7000 packs that we see commonly used in 80mm and 90mm sport jets. So from an economic standpoint, this is a really good mid-range jet. Now when it comes to skill level, obviously, we still think that the 64, given its simplicity, is the better first ever EDF for someone that is timid or with less experience. More experienced, more confident pilots looking to get into their first ever EDF, the Viper 70 is an absolutely great choice. You'll have no problem with that if you're of that skill level. But you do have to keep in mind, this is heavier, it is faster than the 64, and that means that given the momentum this thing carries, a full-fledged flying field is the safest place to fly the Viper 70. Now, we keep talking about performance and how fast it is, so how fast is it? In a straight line run, we clocked the Viper 70 at 112 miles an hour. That's very impressive to me because we put that GPS on a lot of 70mm jets and got anywhere from 95 to about 106 miles an hour. We even put that GPS in one of my favorite 80mm sport jets and got 114, so the Viper 70 is only 2 miles an hour slower than that. It has vertical that rivals that jet, it can slow down as well as that jet, and it's every bit as aerobatic as that jet. It's prompted us to call it the 70 that performs like an 80. And the amazing thing is it does it on batteries that cost a great deal less than the 6000s that I'm using in that 80. So if you're looking for your first full-fledged flying field high-performance sport jet, the Viper 70 is a great option where you don't have to sacrifice performance, but you also don't have to spend as much money. Just a really good choice. So we're going to go to our full setup page on the Viper 70. If you want to take a look at that, check it out. Then we'll do a flight with the Viper 70, enjoy the flight, and then we'll move on to the Mac Daddy, also known as the Viper 90. Obviously, the Viper 70 provides another level of speed compared to the 64. The aerobatic capability is there with all three. I caught Heidi by surprise there a little bit, so she asked me to do another inverted pass. All three of the Vipers will tumble just fine, but you'll notice as the mass goes up a bit, that capability increases a bit. The Viper 90 was the second in the E-Flite Viper line, introduced in 2021. It has a 55.1 inch wingspan, it's 50.4 inches long. Our example weighs 7 pounds, 7.3 ounces, ready to fly with a 6S 7000. It's intended for 6S 4000 to 7000 milliamp packs. The assembly is modern, and the automatic electronic connections on the wings make storage, transport, and field assembly simple. The Viper 90 is sold two ways, as an ARF Plus for $449.99 and as a bind and fly for $649.99. The ARF Plus is the airframe with the servos and retract units already installed. It lacks a receiver and a power system, so there's no fan, motor, or ESC in the airplane. It's sold that way for those creative modelers that want to either buy or put together their own fan, motor, and ESC 90mm unit running on 8S, 10S, or 12S to make a crazy fast jet. This gives them a very good platform to start with at a reasonable price. This is the bind and fly. It has an Avian ESC and a Spectrum AR637TA receiver. That gives you the full array of smart telemetry, including a barometer that gives you your ascent and descent rates. Of course, you'll be able to activate Safe Select if you'd like, and you'll have the OG AS3X stabilization system that, again, like the 70, is easily upgradable to AS3X Plus if you'd like to do that. When you move up to the Viper 90, you've reached the top tier. This is what we would categorize as a premium, full-featured foam sport jet. You'll have rudder with a steerable nose wheel, elevator, ailerons, slotted flaps on the Viper 90, a full set of day-bright LEDs, and retractable landing gear, and there are some nice touches on that landing gear. You have main oleo strut covers and a sequencing nose gear door that covers up the entire nose gear bay, making the Viper 90 the most aerodynamic Viper in the line. The price point of premium 90mm foam sport jets is up there, and the Viper 90 is no exception. In fact, it's one of the more expensive jets in the class. However, you have to break down what you're looking at. This is a bind and fly with a receiver worth more than $100 already installed. A receiver that gives you functions that you don't get with just anything. The competing jets are plug and plays, and if you install this receiver in those jets, you're at pretty much the same price point, if not a little bit more. So the price of the Viper 90 is very competitive. The battery range is 4,000 to 7,000 6L packs, and to be quite honest with you, we like using the heavier packs, the 6,000s and the 7,000s, because that gives us a 5-minute flight time with the Viper 90, and that is phenomenal for any sport jet, really, much less a 90. And given the light, empty weight of the Viper 90 and all the wing area that it has, it carries the weight of a 7,000 easily. We still have excellent slow flight characteristics and a docile stall. When it comes to skill level, Anybody with a bit more experience and confidence looking to get into their first jet, Viper 90 or any of the Vipers really is going to be just fine for you. If you're a more timid pilot with less experience, we still recommend starting with the Viper 64 and moving up to the Viper 90 as your second jet. Now obviously, given the speed and mass of this airplane, the safest place to fly one is going to be a sanctioned flying field. That just begs one question: how fast is this one? The answer is very fast, 125 miles an hour in a straight line run with the Viper 90. That all-out speed combined with excellent slow speed performance give the Viper 90 a very wide speed envelope. It has the best vertical we've experienced yet with any foam sport jet of any size, and near unmatched aerobatic capability. Bigger flies better is a saying that I think about when I think about the Viper 90. It absolutely epitomizes that. It's very easy to see why this jet is the sport jet by which all others have been judged since its introduction. The truth is, when you buy a Viper 90, you're not after the economy jet, you're after badass, and this one absolutely delivers. I haven't found anyone that laid down the money necessary to put one of these in their hangar that's sorry they did it. So with that, we're going to go to our setup page on the Viper 90. You can pause that and check that out. Then we'll have our Viper 90 demo. We'll meet you back here and we'll wrap this up. One interesting thing about flying the Viper 90, we were in the same wind, and other than getting caught by the crosswind on takeoff just a little bit, I couldn't even tell it was there. The Viper 90 intensifies everything. It has more presence, it's smoother, it's faster, it's more resistant to wind. You're flying a bigger jet, and you can tell. The vertical performance is absolutely outstanding. The added mass of the bigger jet gives you a bit more momentum and thus the best tumbling capability of the three. I run a bit long before I touch down, but you'll notice with the thrust reverse, the Viper 90 can stop very fast as well. So, if you're looking for a good foam sport jet, regardless of what your buying criteria might be, the E-Flite Viper line has something that more than likely is going to fit the bill for you. I think the 64 Viper is the sleeper of the group. I think it's the one that gets a bit underestimated. It can fulfill so many different missions. It is the best multi-role sport jet that I've flown yet. You can fly it in smaller areas safely. You don't need a sanctioned flying field necessarily. It is more economical and uses more economical and more common 4-cell packs and has nothing short of spectacular performance on those packs. Enough performance to keep experienced EDF pilots like myself more than happy. When you dial it back, it's a great first ever EDF that has sexy styling that a newer to EDF pilot is going to be happy to grow with as you gain more experience. Just a hard to beat package for what it is. Then you move up to the Viper 70. This is another level of performance. Now you have retractable gear. You got enough power, you got enough wing area to safely carry that and still have a jet that flies slow well. This is the 70mm jet that performs like an 80mm sport jet. You get very close to the same straight line speed, vertical and aerobatic performance and flight time on smaller, less expensive 3200 6-cell packs. That makes that a very attractive package. And then finally, you move up to the Viper 90. This is the quintessential benchmark for all foam sport jets for a reason. Yes, it is a bit more expensive, and it does take more expensive, larger packs to get that 4.5 to 5 minute flight time you'll get with the 6,000 or 7,000. But it's worth every penny. You'll be hard pressed to find anyone that owns one of these or has flown one that wasn't just blown away with the performance. It is the big jet flying experience that if you have the budget for, you really don't want to miss. The bottom line is the Viper line from E-Flite is at the top of the sport jet food chain. They all have high visibility paint schemes that make orientation very easy. They all have the kind of landing gear and the thrust reverse that enable you to operate out of short and even rough runways, which is a big plus. Hard to go wrong with an E-Flite Viper if you're looking for a sport jet. So, if you decide that you'd like to add one or several of these to your hangar, we'll put links in the description where you can do just that. When you go through those links, it helps support our channel, and when you do that, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's it for us. We hope this buyer's guide has helped you make your decision on what Viper is right for you. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.